Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Nick Tan Chats. My name is Nick Tan, and on today's episode, I'll be chatting with you guys about a billet technique from the mind of Brandon Bell. This is something that he calls the Gnostic Oblique. So hi again guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for showing up, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for spending some time with me today. So on today's episode, I'll be chatting with you guys about a billet peak. Okay, that is from an online friend of mine by the name of Brandon Bell. Now, this is going to be quite a difficult review for me to do, actually, and I've discussed this with Brandon as well, because of reasons that I will explain as I go along. But sometime, in September, I think, 2 to 3 months ago, Brandon got in touch with me and sent me this new peak of his called the Gnostic Oblique. Okay, so before anything else, in full disclosure, this is a review copy. Well, he sent it to me kind of like as a gift, I suppose, because we do go way back, right? We are like online friends, but our correspondence goes back to like 2005, I think, when we were kind of discussing, PK touch routines, over emails. But yes, this is a kind of a review copy. But even then, I will try to be as objective as I can, about my thoughts on this particular project. So first of all, if you are, well versed in peak techniques, the name Gnostic Oblique, the latter part of the name will probably give you a clue already as to its roots, right? So this is actually based upon the work of Alain Bellon. I believe that's how it's pronounced, when he released his incredible peak technique called Obsidian Oblique. Okay, that was published sometime in 2003, I believe. Okay, and back then it was really the thing, right? It was just so hard to get hold of. And the Gnostic Oblique is Brandon's take, I suppose, on the original Obsidian Oblique. If you are one of the rare few people familiar with Obsidian Oblique, I will also explain to you the main difference so that you can decide whether or not to pick this up for yourself or not. So let's talk about what you receive when you purchase the Gnostic Oblique. Okay, so the Gnostic Oblique is available from the link, right, which I will place in the description box down below. And it came to me actually in a folder, right? This folder that contains 35 videos. Okay, and I do understand that now there are updates as well, that Brandon will be putting out. There is also a Facebook group that is available, for you guys to just join and discuss ideas, and for Brandon to share further thoughts and updates on the project. But yes, on the videos, there will be a welcome to the project. Brandon will give you a demonstration of the Gnostic Oblique move itself. There will be a discussion on history and crediting about the move. He will be discussing, peaks and the philosophy behind it. He'll talk about, the types of paper to use, billets. And then there will be a whole bunch of methods, right, that will be presented to you about how to justify your peak, to motivate the peak and your sightlines as well. There will also be studio performances of a couple of the routines that are taught on this project. Along with the videos, there is also a 19-page, I think, PDF, all right, that will outline 3 routines that you can perform with the Gnostic Oblique peak. So let's talk about what is Gnostic Oblique. Okay, so as I've mentioned, it is a billet peak, but this is actually a full billet peak. Okay, a full billet peak that is done one-handed. Okay, so it's a one-handed full billet peak. Well, I did mention, right, it's similar to the Obsidian Oblique. Well, let's think of it as like 3 phases. Okay, so there is the getting into position phase, there is the peak position phase, and then there is the, let's say the getting out of it phase. All right, so 3 of these phases, and I think the main difference in Gnostic Oblique versus the original Obsidian Oblique is that phase 1, the getting into it phase, this part is done one-handed. Okay, so you really do have the freedom of just taking a billet at the fingertips, okay, in its folded state, all right, and then doing the move and getting into the position, the original Obsidian Oblique position, but one-handed, all right? Because if you are familiar with the Obsidian Oblique move, you do know that, you do need kind of 2 hands to get into position, right? So that's the main difference. And then subsequently the other two parts, all right, the peak position and then getting out of it, those two are pretty much the same, I think, all right, or at least very, very closely kind of related. And then comes the problem with doing this review, because as with most of these kinds of moves, you know, peaks and stuff, as a buyer, all right, as a purchaser, you know, someone who just buys all this stuff, you guys want to see the move in action, right? I understand that, you know, Brandon understands that, we all do, right? Because, you know, we all buy stuff and we just want to see how it looks like in performance. Therein lies the problem, because, well, even though the move is deceptive, okay, I don't believe it's fair to the creator, all right, to put the move like demonstrated, you know, on video, okay, on a public platform like that, because it can kind of be kind of like figured out, or well, reconstructed, I think, with repeated viewings, okay, because you guys know what's going on and the concept behind it, so it's not fair to kind of place like a video on it. However, okay, I think a good balance, at least for me, you know, this won't satisfy everyone, you know, some guys are still not going to be happy about this, but I think what's going to be good is for me to kind of demonstrate what the move looks like, or what it's supposed to look like to you, okay? But I'm not doing the move, but I'll just approximate what the move is supposed to look like, okay? This is a similar approach that I took in a previous video that I did for Louis Laval's OTT move, okay, which again is kind of deceptive, you know, it will withstand scrutiny, but not repeated viewings on video, right? So a spectator makes a drawing, or they write a word or anything like that, they can just write anywhere because it is a full billet peak, okay? So the billet is folded back up, you take it back, and then from here, you hold it at your fingertips like that, okay? And from here, you can go through a whole bunch of you know, justifications, however you wish to do it. You do the work, and then from there, you can hand the billet back, like that. Okay, and the work is done. This can be handed to the spectator, they can hang on to it, and you're done. Okay, so I think that is a good approximation of what the Gnostic Oblique looks like. So let's quickly cover some of the usual things that people ask about peaks, right? So first of all, peak area, again, it's a full billet peak, so it doesn't matter where your spectator writes the word or draws and stuff, you will get everything, okay? And then difficulty level. Okay, now Brandon actually teaches this move with the right hand. With the right hand. However, for some reason, you know, my right hand refuses to cooperate. Okay, and I somehow am able to do the move only with my left hand. And I think it's the familiarity with Obsidian Oblique as well, because I used to do Obsidian Oblique with the left hand, okay? So the positioning is kind of similar, and so I think my left hand just kind of remembered that kind of a position, okay? Now, in terms of difficulty level, it is simple, but there is a bit of a knack to it, I think, at least, you know? And I think if you ask another, you know, fantastic billet worker, Julien Losa, who actually first introduced this peak to me, he will also tell you, right, it's simple, but you will need to actually put in some work in order to kind of get it smooth, right, and be confident enough with it to use it in performance, okay? So it's not that tough. I mean, you do need to sit with it for a couple of days, I don't know, it varies from person to person, I suppose. But after a while, it will start to work, you know, and then from there, it's really just all about how you work that, all right, into the choreography of whatever routine you're going to be performing with. So while I've mentioned that the peak itself is deceptive, you know, getting into it looks quite deceptive when Brandon performs it. Well, obviously there's going to be some kind of, shall we say, movement, okay? And I think this will need to be kind of worked into your routining, okay, your choreography, because if you're going to be thinking that you can take a billet back, you know, and have a spectator stare at it and kind of like challenge them, right, and say, look at this, it's folded up, you know, there's no way you can look inside, and you know, you think you can get away with it, it's not going to work, okay? It's going to be something kind of like, you know, done really it's very hard to explain, right? But if you do work with billet switches and peaks, you understand what I mean. I think you take it back, there's a kind of casualness and attitude about it as you do the move, as you get the peak, and as you kind of, you know, recover, okay, and hand the billet back. Okay, so it's got to be worked into your whole choreography. But all in, you know, I think this is it's a worthwhile addition, you know, to the whole collection about you know, billet techniques and stuff. It is something that I'm still kind of working on, you know, because even though I can do the move already, I am not at that point where I'm, you know, totally 100% confident with doing it yet. Okay, and even though I have practiced Obsidian Oblique, you know, over the years, to be honest, I've never used it, you know, in performance, right? On stage, my kind of go-to, I suppose, is Millet Longman's AN, okay? And that is something I still use in my show until today, you know, in my stage show. So I've not used Obsidian Oblique, so while I can do the mechanical aspect of it, I'm not comfortable with the I don't know, the peak, the moment of the peak and stuff. So I'm still working on the Gnostic Oblique. As to whether I will use it or not, I'm not sure. But once I get proficient enough, then I think I can kind of see if I can work it into my show somehow. But again, you know, worthwhile addition, you know, great thinking about how to do, all right, this kind of a move. And, you know, if you are interested in this peak, all right, or learning more about it, I believe it is priced at $55, okay, and it can be found at the link that I will place in the description box down below. So that's all for today's episode, guys. I do hope I've given you a better understanding about what the Gnostic Oblique is, you know, and if there's any kind of questions that I've not covered properly, you know, or not in depth enough, you can put your questions in the description box down below, all right, and I will try to answer them to the best of my abilities, all right. But for now, I just want to thank Brandon, you know, for really generously sending this over to me so that I can learn it, you know, and chat about it with you guys on this show as well. And hopefully I can get comfortable enough to use it in my own work as well. Alright, but that's all for today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it as well. Till the next episode, do stay safe, take care of yourselves, have fun with your magic and your mentalism, and I will see you on the next one.